Welcome and thanks for joining us for the NHVR portal release update for February. This is number 17 in the webinar series for release 7.1.0. Will be released today at 4 o'clock on the 9th January 2020. We're coming to you from the NHVR office in Brisbane. I'm Steve Ryan, a product analyst with the Digital Products Group, and I'm joined by John Barry, who is the product manager for the Digital Products Group. Hi, John.
Steve. How you doing?
Good, thanks. We'll kick in here and have a quick run through the agenda. So we'll just do a quick introduction and a little bit of housekeeping around the webinar. Then John will present through the roadmap for 2020 and also then do a demonstration of the highlighted features for release 7.1.0. Then we'll talk about the next webinar and any support details that you might need if you want to ask some questions or some follow-ups. And then we'll close out and sign off. So thanks, John. Just a quick overview. As we already mentioned, I'm Steve Ryan, product analyst. We've got John Barry, the product manager. The webinar format, we have the slides in the portal demonstration, which we'll kick off in a minute. If you have any questions, you can go through the digital@nhvr.gov.au mailbox and we'll get back to you. And the video of the webinar will also be uploaded to the NHVR Portal Help Centre, so that's there for reference if you need to look at it again in the future.
All right. Now, we didn't get to go through the roadmap at the last webinar series. We're still working out the plan for 2020, and we still are in many ways. So we are certainly continuing the work with Access. So, and you'll see some of that today in the webinar. Permit case consent workflow automation is a key focus. And we'll also be looking at some of the other processes that the Access team perform with internal review workflows and some of the notice consultation workflows out to road managers. And of course, continuing maintenance, bug fixes. For accreditation and vehicle standards, after the launch late last year, we're in the MVP period, so that's getting them to what we call a minimal viable product for them. So it's a lot of optimizations, minor improvements, any issues that have come up, and in many ways, again, really looking to streamline and automate their processes as well. And then, of course, we'll continue to do maintenance, bug fixes, and minor improvements for those two. All three of them now they're in the portal, 3 service lines. But of course, the big one for us this year is PBS. For the last month and for this month, we're in a discovery phase, what we call a discovery phase. And that's where we're really doing a lot of research, talking to customers, talking to end users, to really understand some of the opportunities with performance-based standards, as well as a lot of the issues that currently exist, and not just from the PBS service itself, but probably as importantly how it integrates with access permitting and how that end-to-end experience from knowing that you want an innovative vehicle to perform a freight task or other sort of movement, how we can ensure that when you've got that vehicle built, it actually gets on the road. So that's what we're really focused on in the discovery phase. Once we get through to the end of that, which is at the end of the February, but a little bit into March, we'll then have a more detailed roadmap where we'll understand what the priorities are, and then we'll be able to present a bit more of what will be coming up. Our initial approach, as you can see here, is that we'll have 2 phases of work. So the customer stream at the top will be where we start to look at the application process and digitising that. But probably more importantly for us is to ensure a good experience from a customer point of view. We really want to get into the back-end systems we have here at the NHVR and roll those continuous improvements out quite regularly so that we can get to a stage where when we start to go into the beta phase for the application process for customers, that we have supporting back-end systems. And what we're seeing is a need to look at the data and the information that really exists and get that into a format that's usable by everyone across the end-to-end. So, and that includes road managers, a very important stakeholder for us, to ensure that we can get the right information to them so that those vehicles can get on the road quicker. So that's still a bit of flux in there as we get through the discovery phase. We'll work out what those actual stages will be. And by the next webinar, we should be able to provide a lot more information about that. So it's quite exciting. I think a lot of issues, we know a lot of feedback about some of the problems there.
Yeah, and sounds like another busy year ahead as well. After last year, 2019 was busy, but it sounds like 2020 is not going to be any different in the pace.
One thing that's not on there is we are going to be looking at the iSupport tool, so the Help Centre, and how we get a bit more better integration in terms of the information we put out on the website and in the portal. And also looking at how that landing page of the portal can provide a bit more richness and information, so you've got more of a one-stop shop for your access, accreditation, vehicle standards, and soon to be PBS needs. All right, let's get into release 7.1. So the first thing we'll have a look at is a new or change for accreditation. So those that have been using the accreditation service, and it's quite a few now, we've seen the number of applications coming through the different channels really spike for the portal. It's now at around 60% of the applications we're getting through the portal, as opposed to website, email, fax, and mail. A few weeks ago now, we did switch off the web channel that used to exist on the website. And we'll continue to monitor email. It's still an available channel, but we are encouraging all accreditation operators to try out the portal and see some of the benefits there. One of the benefits is being able to access your audits and audit history. Previous to the release today, accreditation audits and the audit applications are under the same tab, but what we're doing now is we're just going to keep the audit tab specifically for audits, and the audit applications will be moved to the applications tab, which I think will hopefully make a bit more sense. So let's get into this now. Got a demonstration first. In the audit tab, as an operator, what you'll see there is just the audit. So, and they'll all have a status, which is whether they conformed or didn't conform. So that's your audit results tab. Under the applications tab is where you'll now find your compliance audits or initial compliance audits. And then you'll be able to go in there and submit those applications and track their progress towards completion. You can also still use the Notify Us button on the timeline, and that'll open up the compliance audits or initial compliance audits as they used to. So nothing changes there, but I think it'll make hopefully a bit more sense for everyone to see all of the applications, whether they're audit applications or update vehicles or maintain or manage accreditation in one place. There was a bit of confusion. We're getting feedback that having the audit applications and audit results in the one view was a bit hard to distinguish the two. So hopefully this will make things a lot easier for people. So that's the accreditation changes for 7.1. There's a few bug fixes that have been continuously rolled out, but there's a range of more updated improvements that'll be happening for 7.2, but that's probably the key one for accreditation today. The main improvements are really around access. So the first thing is around amend vehicles. So currently when you submit amend vehicle application, you basically get presented with a blank table and you have to fill in the vehicle details that you either want to add or you want to update or you want to remove. What we've done now is when you go in to amend your permit and create an amend application and select the amend vehicle option, the vehicles tab will show you the vehicles, and you simply then can either remove or update existing, or you can add more. The second step, probably the more important step, is that when you submit those update vehicle applications, the permit will effectively automatically updated and automatically reissued, which means that the NHVR, the access facilitators here, won't even touch those type of applications moving forward. So that should be a good win, and there's a lot more of those applications that have been flying through. So let's just have a quick look at that. You will, of course, to go and update or create an amend application, you want to go into your permit library. It's probably the easiest way. Go under permit management and use your permit actions From there, you'll be able to apply for an amendment, and that will just link it to the permit automatically for you. Of course, you'll select your amend vehicles option, and when you progress, what you'll find is all of the vehicle information that's currently sitting on your permit, segregated by each of the components, each of the vehicle units. So just gone there and deleted one, we're now updating one, and now we'll go to add one. And previously, not having all of those vehicles there made it quite confusing, and also for access facilitators, they're doing a lot of comparison. While all the data was there, the system didn't have this feature. Now that we've added this particular feature, this is what enables us to move into automating that entire workflow. It only applies to amend vehicles, so if you do select amend route or amend conditions, it won't be automated. But if you're only looking to amend vehicle details, then we encourage you just to submit that as a single application. And then if you need to amend routes or amend conditions, then you can submit those as separate applications as well. So you complete the declarations as usual, but now when you go to submit, in the background, it's automatically updating that permit and it's just reissued it. So we'll go have a look now in the permit library and check that out. So, of course, if you click on any of your amend renew applications that have been submitted, it'll take you straight into the permit. This was at version 5, it's just been reissued, version 6. And if we scroll down to the vehicle details for this permit, you'll see the updated, the removed one, and the one we just added, G there. That's all within the blink of an eye.
Yeah, that's great.
So we're looking for more feedback on that, but we're hoping that should free up our access facilitators to do more of the value-adding stuff around getting route changes done. Vehicle changes really was something that wasn't really adding any value for us to look at. We had to because of the way the system had been built to date. So that's the first one. Probably just as important for efficiency is access permit renewals. So this particular functionality basically means that as soon as you submit a renewal application, the system will go and look at all of the routes you currently have and automatically create new route versions, and then go in and issue the consents to all of the road managers against each of those routes. There's a number of other factors added in there, particularly where if road managers have provided consent on a previous consent for a time period that exceeds the renewal. So they can go up to 3 years if the permit was issued for 12 months, and this permit renewal is for another 12 months. Those road managers who provided more than 2 years, those consents will automatically be granted, which saves time for those road managers as well. They won't even have to touch those. They've already provided the duration. Currently, they actually get sent to them, and it's an unnecessary administrative burden. In that case, the consents are automatically granted with whatever the conditions were previously. The consent period will be up to the greatest consent period that they'd previously provided. So if it was for 3 years, then you'll see 2 years on a 12-month permit renewal. If in the case that all of the road managers on a particular case have provided extended consent, there's an opportunity for those cases to automatically be completed. Now, in most cases, there'll always be one road manager that represents the lowest time frame for a particular permit period, because if a road manager had provided more than that, as a rule, we'd always give that additional period. So if it went out to 2 years, we try to get the maximum period for you. But what it does mean is that we're only looking at those road managers who provided the shortest consent periods, and not having to administratively worry about the rest. All of that process is something that happens manually now, and that's all being automated as part of this step. So let's have a look at this particular one. So jump in here. Okay, so what we're having a look at here is the consent being applied to the first version of this particular permit. So And what we're showing you here is the access facilitators view. They're jumping in as road managers and having a look at the decisions. What we're going to do is simulate approval with conditions. So in this particular instance, this road manager is providing 3 years, or just under. No, they're provided 3 months. There we go. And they're adding conditions. So for those that haven't seen the way that the road managers interact with the system, this is what they do. It's all integrated. So that's a grant with conditions. We'll go now to the transport main roads in this example, and we'll issue again with approval with conditions. Again, we'll update the period. No, we'll leave that alone. So they're both for around 3 months, and we'll submit that. Now, as part of previous functionality where we have an auto issue feature, because this permit has been assigned as an auto issue, the case is automatically completed, and the permit's been automatically issued because it was the last route on that particular case. Now, that's version 1 of the permit. Let's go in as the customer, and we'll have a look at the permit that's been issued. So that's version 1. If we have a look in there, what you'll see is the authorisation permit with the authorised routes and the conditions added by both Brisbane City Council as example and Transport Main Roads. So let's now go and renew that permit. Again, similar to the amend, apply for renewal. As soon as that application is created, you can check it's automatically linked to the permit, which is why we recommend you go through that permit actions button. Let's quickly go through and submit this particular application. Now, what will happen here is as soon as I submit, I'll get to the payment page. I complete my payment. In this case, I'll use a Save card. And now the system's going and looking at all of the routes. So there's only one route case in this particular instance, but it's automatically gone and generated the consents for both TMR and Brisbane. Again, a step that our access facilitators do now manually. So with that, I will jump back and have a look at the cases that have been, so consent's gone and been requested. So that all happened immediately. As soon as that renewal application was paid for, you can see that Brisbane City Council has automatically been granted with conditions. The permit period that they provided was a few days greater than Transport Main Roads. So the Transport Main Roads in this instance had the lowest consent period, so they still need to provide consent for the additional period of the permit, whereas Brisbane City Council didn't. So in this example, we're going to submit this consent. Now, being the last case and the last consent, the case will automatically be completed, and now that permit's just been issued. So in this particular instance, what you can see is that NHVR, the access facilitators here, haven't had to touch this case at all. It's gone straight from customers submitting and paying for their renewal right out to the road managers, and in some cases not even to the road managers who provided that additional period. Yeah. You can see here the permit's been reissued, version 2, and the conditions have come through from the previous consent. One of the other, I guess, benefits here is that by rewarding those road managers that provide greater consents, reducing the administrative overhead, we're hoping to encourage more road managers to provide longer consent durations on their when these cases go out to them. It'll benefit them, and also has that benefit for customers who can get these permits turned around a lot quicker than what we've had the ability to do in the past.
Yeah, excellent.
So some significant improvements there for amendments through to renewals. One of the, I guess, the filters we do apply on these type of applications is the permit itself needs to be fully digitised. What we mean by that is there's some permits that are still in the system that have been carried over from previous jurisdictions. effectively Shell permits, and those operators who have those in the portal will see that there's no vehicle information, there's limited condition information in there, but there is a permit document attached PDF. Those ones we can't obviously automate because they don't have all of the prerequisite information. But as soon as that renewal is put through the system, it gets digitised, so that subsequent renewals will have these features applicable to them. And there's quite a few now, so with the NHVR having been in the access permit space for several years now, a lot of those renewals have washed through, but there's still a few in there. So, all right.
Excellent. Well, that's great. That's very informative. Thanks, John. It was good to see the overview of the roadmap and what's coming up at a high level for the rest of the year. I think those features that you've demonstrated look like great steps forward in efficiency for what the portal can do. So, and it sounds like there's something in there for everyone to gain from both the regulator, the customer, and the road managers. So it looks like they'll be good features. Then on screen there now you can see the details around the next webinar. It'll be during March 2020. The date will get announced somewhere around the middle of the month. You can sign up there through that link. And then on the right-hand side, there is all the details around how you can contact us if you have any other questions or other support materials where you can go online and see either the previous webinars, including this one, and also help articles and FAQs. So I think that's everything that we've got to present and show today for the upcoming release for 7.1.0. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Steve. Awesome.